Yeah, thank you for having me, Jim. This is the first time I've been in a GDC session, and I'm the host, so that's kind of cool. Um, the philosophy that you guys have, really cool. I might start my own group too, so that's great.
All right.
Hey everyone. My name is Pradeep. As Jim said, I am a product architect at a company called Veza. It's a startup. The startup was recently acquired by ServiceNow, so we're in the phase of transitioning there. A little bit about my background before I get started here. I am an identity practitioner, and I've been an identity practitioner for about 10 years now. I first started at Netflix as a identity engineer, and that's where I kind of learned the underlying identity plumbing, right? The SAML, OIDC, OAuth, all those methodologies and how they all work together. I was responsible for helping transition a lot of our developers there from SAML over to OIDC and OAuth and the newer kind of more flexible, modern kind of authentication protocols. And yeah, I developed a pretty deep understanding, part of my name, I guess, of those technologies. Later on in my career, I moved to Splunk, and that's where I transitioned from engineering to management. And at Splunk, I got into the whole kind of identity governance side of things, understanding joiner, mover, leaver type workflows, focusing on the IT side of things and the enterprise itself. Um, I learned a lot about the governance layer, how important it is, not only from the HRIS systems, but also the connectivity between HRIS and IT systems, and understanding the entire workflow from end to end, even down to all of the services that we support and managing the access to those particular systems. One of the cool projects that I worked on at Splunk at that time was this whole concept of endpoint security, understanding how certain elements in the environment work from the endpoint all the way to the identity perspective to downstream systems. So I was the head of understanding what we used to call NHI back in those days was service accounts, right? Understanding why we had over 900 service accounts in the environment and kind of reducing the footprint of those NHIs in the environment, right? We ended up reducing it to about 100, but through that journey, I was able to go through the kind of entire OSI stack of discovery of these elements, and of course, communicating with the owners, understanding who the owners are, and kind of reducing the blast radius there. After Splunk, I went over to CrowdStrike, where I did a little bit of the same, build out the identity governance framework there. And this is where I first got into, in 2024, is where I first got into AI for enterprise, right? My team at that point was not only the identity and access management team, but also the collaboration team and the Atlassian teams. And the collaboration team in 2024 was the tip of the spear for introducing ChatGPT, Slack AI, what else? Google for Enterprise, the Gemini portion of that. And that was my first experience of with AI, right? Understanding exactly how AI plays in the enterprise. I was, playing around with Claude and the Claude code earlier on. So I did understand some of the concepts there. But again, it was another kind of rediscovery of the plumbing, like I did at Netflix, but now at CrowdStrike, to understand that level of plumbing, right? I decided to move over to Veza because my desire there was to get that foundational knowledge, right, of how AI intersects with identity. And that's what we're going to talk about here. Basically what agentic AI means for identity security. So I'm coming from the practitioner lens of the identity side. Many of you may have more knowledge about the AI side than I do, but I'm going to kind of marry the two areas together. So I'll go ahead and start presenting.
All right. No, that's great. And just a reminder for those that may not have the chat window open on their display, the way the platform works is any of the organizers and Pradeep will be on screen right now. if you have any questions for Pradeep while he's presenting, just open up the chat window, type your question in there. I'll be watching that and hopefully find an appropriate time to ask Pradeep the question. So thanks, Pradeep. I can see your slides, and
okay, great.
Let's get rolling.
All right, cool. So, like I said, this is we're going to talk about the implications of agentic AI for identity security. Right. Let's move on to the next slide here. So, industry numbers. Right. We got Gartner numbers here, of course. So, 90% of the attacks in IT enterprises are from the identity perspective, right? And this is not even considering AI and NHI yet. That is kind of like the big number to take away here. That what identity and security leaders understand is that identity is the front door of these attacks to the enterprise. 89%, good number for us as identity practitioners, that we're moving away from IT generalists or generalists in the identity space to become identity specialists and identity architects to be able to figure out how to combat this new kind of threat that's happening in the space, right? The same policies that we have applied for humans don't necessarily apply for agents, right? So this is a massive process here where we're trying to figure out how to change the entire identity architecture in these enterprises. 58%. These are what will drive the majority of cyber attacks in 2026. Not only is AI a force multiplier for the humans that are doing the good stuff, but it's also a force multiplier for humans that are doing the bad stuff, right? So this is going to be a big concern in the environment. It already has. I mean, like the most recent thing that has happened is the kind of whole Claude thing, and we can talk a little bit more about that during this slideshow. So for the Gartner side of things, this is a very interesting statistic that I came across. 50% of AI initiatives at organizations will come to a halt because of the chaotic nature of how unmanageable it could potentially get, right? So this is kind of a number to keep top of mind as identity practitioners, because enterprises and leadership will look to us as the ones to help solve this issue, so we don't become the blockers, and we can help scale the enterprise to be able to be as productive as possible. All right, industry and company initiatives that are rapidly emerging. Everyone knows about MCP servers at this point. This is something that Anthropic has introduced and OpenAI. It's defined as USB-C for AI applications, and it actually does secure some of the processes that we do in the enterprise. Right, back in the olden days, to be able to access certain APIs, you would have to generate an API token, potentially run it from your desktop or a hosted system to be able to access that API and model it and perform what you needed to do with the API. That left a lot of static keys hanging out in the environment. And then if you think about how enterprise backups work, you potentially have a key running on your desktop that's being backed up now too. So MCPs kind of get you away from that model. Sorry, was there a question? All right. The other side of MCPs, though, are that it does introduce other security risks into the environment. Right, prompt injection is a pretty big one over there. So that is definitely something that needs to be considered when these systems are deployed in the enterprise. Agent to agent. This is fairly new too. Agent to agent communication is something that Google has produced. And this is going to be, I'm trying to think of an analogy on the fly here. Let's see. MCP would be kind of like a screwdriver for AI. And agent to agent would be more like a subcontractor for AI, right? So let's say that you're, you want to buy a ticket, a plane ticket somewhere, right? And you have a agent running on your system that is looking for open dates on your calendar, finds an open date, and it would communicate with a Southwest agent, for example, right, to be able to book that ticket for you for those particular dates. That is kind of like the model that we are heading towards in the environments, right? The agents will be able to securely kind of talk to each other by way of contract, like a passport between each of them. So that is something that's rapidly emerging as well. For the infrastructure people on the call, I love saying this word, spiffy. Right? Spiffy is a way to enable identity workloads. So if you're running, Kubernetes workloads and stuff like that, you've got another a layer here that can help with the security through the identity of the workloads themselves by using IDs, UIDs, SVIDs, and API between the workloads. Again, that's not necessarily AI or AI agent focused, but it's a layer that AI and AI agents can run on top of. OAuth, all of you identity practitioners know out there what OAuth is. OAuth is a way to scope down the level of access that these AI agents and MCP servers may have in your environment. With the advent of OAuth 2.1, some of the insecure protocols like implicit flow go away. So if you have those running in your environment and you migrate over to OAuth 2.1, you may want to take a look because that might stop working. So OAuth itself is a way to help restrict, OAuth 2.1 specifically, is a way to help restrict the activity that's going on with some of these agents, right? So for example, MCP tools with an MCP server may have read assignments, list, execute. You can actually scope it down to, just read if you wanted to, or just list through these OAuth protocols. And then finally, the big players, right? You've got your Microsoft with Entra Agent ID and also Entra technology with conditional access that can be layered on top of agents. ServiceNow with AI Control Tower. Workday with an agent system of record. Workday's idea of delegate agents and ambient agents are kind of being adopted. The terminology is kind of being adopted by other players as well. And OWASP recommendations for agentic AI on how to identify if you have excessive agency with some of your agents, the privilege of these agents in the environment. And also one that I'm missing here is the EU has an AI Act as well. And I was reading through this yesterday. Pretty interesting. It's not necessarily about securing the agent itself. It's more about how the agent could be manipulative to the user, right? And could force the user to think one way or the other. And the EU wants to make sure that these malicious type of activities with humans aren't commonplace, right? So that was a fairly interesting read if anyone wants to look through the EU Act on AI. All right. The key question for us, right? How do I enable the workforce with AI tools while protecting my enterprise data? Again, as identity practitioners, we don't necessarily want to be the bottleneck or the roadblock for AI in our environments, right? AI itself, agents themselves need to be trained, right? So they need to have data that is trained in your enterprise to make them useful. So you have to excuse me. So you have to be very careful with the training of these agents in your environment. I'll skip over to the next slide. So how organizations use their data in AI agents, LLMs, right? So pre-training is a way for the bigger organizations like OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, to train their models before these models are, part of enterprises, right? Enterprises themselves, unless you're one of the big players like Meta or Amazon or Google, won't be operating at this level. The next part is fine tuning of models, right? uh, Fine tuning is a kind of a dangerous area to play into because you could potentially override all of the protocols and the security measures you have on your data by fine tuning it at that level. So most enterprises are going to work at the red box area, the expected focus, where it's about the RAG and CAG, the retrieval augmented generation and the cached augmented generation, and the prompt engineering angle of things, right? This is where the data is analyzed on the fly, where basically when you're prompting, that's when the data is picked up. The permission sets are analyzed at that time too to deliver the correct level of information to the person who's prompting. Now, this also can lead to prompt injection, prompt poisoning. So there are measures, like I said in the previous slide, that the industry is developing to be able to secure some of this. So you can't necessarily, let's see, a good example. Let's say you have financial data in your vector database, right? You can't necessarily, as a common user, get the financial estimates for the next quarter because your vector database will have tagging for specific departments, scopes for different departments, scopes for specific users. And when you go to retrieve that data, all of this is checked, of course, using the OAuth protocol to understand that you're not allowed to be able to access that data. So it's effectively invisible to you when you go to retrieve that information. So yes, some of these newer security measures are being put in place to be able to solve for some of these items like prompt engineering and prompt injection.
I have a quick anecdote on poisoning the data. Some of our security researchers posted I don't know if it was one or more files on our internal document sites that the CEO was somebody else, basically
Yes.
like false information. And they're like, oops, it doesn't really know what the truth is. This is the data. It says it right here. This other guy is the CEO, not Kurt Eckert, our real CEO. So yeah, some funny things can happen with the data that you use for your reg model or what you let the model look at. If that data is not right, it doesn't really know.
Correct. And that's a great segue to this next slide, Jim, because the agents themselves, from a human perspective, we understand that a read permission for a human is reading something, right? Just being able to read it, not actually execute, not actually go and change it or anything like that. From an AI perspective, read is actually a set of instructions to go do something else, right? So, for example, here, when you, and I think this is like a forced leak example too, that as you can see in the slide deck here. When you have a statement in a database, let's say, that says that an admin can read the contents of this particular table, the AI with read access can say that, oh, okay, this is only allowed for the admin to be able to read the contents of that table, but then take that instruction set and go and execute it somewhere else, right? So it is a way that read actually is kind of dangerous in this particular environment too. With the forced leak example, what happened there was that there was a agent that read web forms that were submitted with contract information. And an attacker was able to instruct that agent to say, okay, yes, I'm filling out this data, and then slipped in a parameter that said also make a copy of this data to eviladdress.com, and it started sending all the contract information for that particular company to eviladdress.com. I've read other instances of not only agents that are doing that level of activity, but also humans using things like deepfake. I just read a report of a financial guy in I think a Hong Kong bank it was, where they were invited to a meeting and everyone in the meeting was a deepfake, meaning that the CEO of the company, the CIO, the CFO, everyone there was in this meeting with this one of the guys that handled the finance of the company, and ended up convincing that person to send $25 million to an external account, all complete by completely faked out, right? So there's different things there to watch out for sure. It's getting very, very sophisticated in the environment that deep fakes are becoming. Everyone's seen Sora, everyone's seen like all the other videos that are out there that you can record yourself and have a AI video representing some celebrity doing the same actions that you're doing, right? So it is getting pretty serious for things like that. Prompt filtering is a big one. Nothing's proven effective yet. If you've heard of Pliny the Liberator, this is a specialist that it breaks any new models within hours, not days. So interesting things like that happening in the space, right? And we have to be prepared for this kind of stuff, and we have to, make sure that we are moving our organizations to those newer security protocols that are being released by, the various consortiums and the bigger companies.
One question from the chat that maybe goes back to a statement you made a little bit earlier. You had the foundation models and you had fine tuning of models.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any specific examples of? Partha's wondering if, like, how does the fine tuning potentially break permissions or?
Yeah. So fine tuning.
Any examples there?
Yeah. I'll come up with some examples here shortly.
Okay.
But the fine tuning of the model is where you kind of front load information into the model, not necessarily have it read from a vector database stored with the permission sets and stuff like that. This is when you kind of train the model on, like, let's say your entire document repository at your enterprise, right? If you've trained the model at that level, then the model has this information in memory, where if you go and ask for a financial record at that point, it's like, boom, here you go. This is the financial record for next quarter. Whereas if you move to the red box area that I was showing earlier, that data is stored in a vector database with the right level of tagging that can operate at that security layer of using OAuth and the metadata filtering of the database itself to kind of secure the data that's there. So then you can't do like the funky prompt injection type stuff to get the data that may not be applicable to you, or you shouldn't be able to read. So I don't know if that answered the question, but there you go.
It'll be good enough.
Yeah,
that's what we got.
All right, for the and I think this is the last one. For AI agent identity type modes, we did talk about the delegate type and the ambient type and the local type, right? The delegate types are the ones where it's your user's permission that's operating with the model to be able to execute, what the model needs, or the agent needs to do, right? The independent type are more akin to service accounts. These are called ambient models in Workday terms, or AI user in ServiceNow terms. But these are the models that and agents that are very similar to service accounts. So what you do with NHI security is applicable to these particular models, right? They are the ones that have their own like potentially keys and tokens that you have to be aware of too, just like the service accounts and the NHI that perform certain workloads. And then the one that's kind of a big security risk is the local ones, right? The ones that we were talking about, like Claudebot as an agent that uses various models on the back end, or Claude Code or anything that's running locally that's exfiltrating data to potentially third parties. Those are the ones that are probably the trickiest and the toughest to see what's going on with them, unless you have CrowdStrike running on your laptop or something like that to see what's happening there. So yeah, those are the three main types that we have to be kind of concerned about in the kind of identity realm. MCP. Let's talk about MCP a little bit here. MCP servers are great. Like I said earlier, they allow for secure communications between your agents and the resources they have to access. The thing about MCP servers are that they potentially are things that are needed today, right, to bridge the gap. But in the future, we may not need actual MCP servers anymore, especially if we move to A2A, agent-to-agent type communication. Then MCPs may not be as prevalent. But today, it is a big thing to be kind of concerned about. Luckily, we do have those standards coming out, OAuth 2.1, to be able to secure that those type of systems too. API and UI. APIs, from my view, I think it's always going to be around. There always has to be some kind of connectivity. There has to be some level of interface to the various services, right? And MCP is kind of like a translation or a bridge to those type of items. And agents too will be kind of a bridge to APIs themselves that are part of the resource. UIs are interesting. There was a case that I read about. I think this happened sometime last year, where Perplexity's Comet browser has AI agents built into it, and the agents helped consumers find the best deal and the best price through Amazon and other retailers. And Amazon wasn't too happy about that. They wanted to understand who the human users are versus the AI agents that were running on their systems and on their interface. So there's a need to kind of, even in the consumer space now, to kind of catalog and categorize who are humans out there, who are agents out there, right? All right. So practical recommendations. I also have a slide hidden on impractical ones, where my bit of paranoia started creating another slide about how to really secure these things. But let's talk about the practical recommendations here, right? So we have to catalog these things, right? And I see it as three main types. I think the industry kind of sees it as three main types of agents out there. You've got your delegate ones, right, on behalf of a user. So it's inheriting the user permissions. You've got the local ones, which are the more difficult ones to kind of process, right? And like I said, systems like EDRs, CrowdStrike's applications, or SentinelOne's applications can possibly block these in the enterprise. So there's that, and then the independent agents too, right? These are the ones that are running in your cloud providers, right? They communicate with each other to perform tasks and perform workloads, and they are more akin to the NHI type of model there. They have their own keys and secrets, based on service accounts, things like that too. So, and I'm going to show you a very quick demo of our product that helps to analyze some of this information in the environment. So I'm going to have to figure out how to switch over to another tab here. I think I do stop sharing for a second.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead, stop sharing, and you can reshare the tab or screen that you're looking for.
All right, let me see if I can do one of these. Oh, actually, let's see if I can do this first.
All right. I see a Veza. What can Veza help you find?
Yes. Okay. So good. And before I start, this is beta, so I'm going to pray to the demo gods that this will work. But it'll work. I've tested it. It does produce the graph that I need. So let's make sure that we can see all Bedrock agents that have write access to resources in my environment. Right. Let's see what produces here. Hopefully it didn't time out my browser session. And while this loads, I actually have it loaded in another tab. Give it a few seconds, make sure this is running.
So what we're seeing right now, we're seeing the human computer interface. You asked a question in simple, English, regular language. And on the back end, maybe you'll go through I guess the graph is here. We can walk through the graph.
Yeah.
But maybe you can go through on what's needed for Veza to make that decision. How does it know which Bedrock agents have read access to stuff? So take it away.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the agent that's running the search is heavily trained on the graph data that we have, right? The graph is, if you think of a Neo4j graph, right? You have the node to edge relationship. That is the kind of training information that we have for our agent, right? And our engineering is always training and making sure things are like working perfectly in order. And things like the Bedrock agent, right? We have tagging for those particular objects within the graph itself, and we're able to say, hey, for this particular tag, do A, B, and C, and not to get into like the technical weeds. That's essentially how we're constructing it. The AI search capability too has kind of like a thinking process, a thinking mode that most AI agents have. I didn't demo that one because it gets really in depth, but you can actually turn it on and see the entire kind of thinking process that it does, all the way down to finally revealing a query that you can analyze and see if it's correct before you launch it. Or we have the concept of this. If you look on the right hand or left hand side here, it's called the query builder, where it will open in this kind of query builder view. And like I typed out, what was it? Show all Bedrock agents that have write access to resources in my environment, right? So it did pick up this and tag it with the data write, and relates to this particular, Bedrock agent relates to any resource that's out there, right? Mm-hmm. So from the graph view, you can actually see, it picked up one Bedrock agent here.
Pradeep, could you maybe do one click of zoom?
Oh, yeah. Is that good?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. So if you click on the agent itself, it'll tell you a lot of relevant information on the right-hand side. We've got our own concept of risk scoring. So if you scroll down here, you can see that, this particular agent has potentially excessive agency, has some access risk associated with it, owners that are high risk themselves, owners that are deactivated in the environment, and some other items here that calculate up to this 84 score, right? Mm-hmm. if you you can see that there is an owner associated with it called named Adam Richards. Sounds like Adam Richards may not be an active employee according to this. You can also set your owners right from here. So if you don't have an owner for this particular agent, you can set that right from this interface too. One of the cool things that I wanted to show is that, let's say that I am an identity practitioner. I don't necessarily know anything about AWS, but I know what read permissions are. I know what write permissions are, right? So if I click on here, I can say explain effective permissions. And this is kind of like the secret sauce that we have, right? We translate the very specific permissions in our resources, in this particular case, AWS, down to common language, right? Read and write here, and how that translates to the permissions in the cloud environment. So you can see here that this particular agent belongs to this agent role, and this agent role has read and write permissions to this sales Dyn database. So if you have an AWS engineer wondering what the heck is changing content on a particular table, you can showcase it right away and say, hey, it's this particular data agent that has this role and works with these tables. So cool. That was my quick demo for you guys.
Super quick. And so maybe just to recap, so the Veza has some credentials to your Amazon account or whatever account that you are wanting to keep track of the identities on, makes those calls to the cloud, builds its own graph of that metadata that comes back, and then with some AI secret sauce and some engineering in the background, you're able to build those graphs, do those searches, so that as a person searching for agents or even people that have excessive permissions on certain objects, you can easily drill down and find kind of what you're looking for.
Yep. Exactly right, Jim. That is the kind of the ISPM, or the AI SPM as they call it nowadays, to discover these risks in your environment, and then create an action plan to go solve the risks in the environment too. So, yep.
All right. So we had the presentation, the demo. Did you have more slides planned, or have we reached the time for even more questions? Just
yeah, let's send the questions my way. Let's see if I can answer these AI questions.
All right. So the chat is open. If you have questions for Pradeep, let them fly. Otherwise, you'll be forcing me to invent my own questions. We do have one of our organizers, Eugen Liang, has joined. I don't know if he's double dutying it tonight with a work call and joining us. We have Mike Shirk on camera as well. He's one of our organizers here from the Dallas area. Let's see, anything in the chat. Let's see.
I threw a couple of questions over just because, I'm talking and I work for Veza, but I'm also on the board with GDG, so I'm kind of like a really comfortable spot on both sides of the equation here. But I'm sitting down with executives every single day, and what they're looking for is they're looking for technology that can actually move at the speed of their business. And in the past, we didn't really have that in identity. So maybe, you could give us a little bit more information on why we're able to move so quickly compared to everybody else in the marketplace.
Sorry, Mike, can you repeat that? I was answering a question on the chat over here.
Yeah. What it was called was a softball.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Veza is going through the acquisition process with ServiceNow is just because we can move so quickly.
Yes.
We can move at the speed of their business. Everybody's business has been just ramped up, because of the expectations. And now with all the advancements of AI, everything's moving faster. But in a lot of cases, a lot of the legacy technologies out there isn't. So this is one of the reasons why I'm seeing and hearing so many of the executives that I work with on a daily basis, wanting to learn more about Veza. So what is that secret within Veza that helps us scale and move so stinking fast?
Yeah, so I would say it's the way that we convert all of the permission sets that are complex across all of these integrations, all these environments that we plug into
Sure.
that common language, right? So understanding very quickly what the risks are in your environment by just having that common language instead of having to understand AWS or understand GCP or understand, all of these constructs that are out there. That is the core, that graph technology, and that translation layer that allows you to go and move so quickly and remediate the risks in your environment so quickly. Yep.
Excellent. Jim,
Right.
do you see any other questions there popping up?
Yeah, there's a few popping up. I'm going to read the one out loud so it's on the recording that Pradeep answered in the chat. So there's a question on the technology behind Veza. If that graph UI that we saw was using React Flow, yes. And is the graph database used behind the scenes Neo4j? Probably the most well-known graph database. If you made me give you another name for a graph database that wasn't just a cloud-managed Neo4j, I wouldn't know. I don't know who's competing, but Neo4j, and yes, correct on both sides. That was a question from Danny Davidson. Question from Sam, focusing on local agents. So we know that local agents can be a security risk. How does that compare with agents or workflows hosted in N8N? And I've never heard that said out loud if it's supposed to be a word like K8s is Kubernetes. I never looked up what N8N is. So
yeah,
if I'm saying it wrong, sorry.
I believe N8N is the workflow builder, correct? So it is I don't know. I wouldn't say low code builder, but it is a workflow builder for sure, where agents can build out different workflows and different integrations for you on the back end, right? That's a great question. How does that compare to agents or workflows hosted in a platform itself, right? I think the answer there is dependent on who owns that N8N, the hosted N8N, right, and how they've secured it, right. From my perspective, the local agents are kind of like the bigger threat for exfiltration of data, right? And if you do work with N8N or one of those kind of integration type systems, and you marry maybe some of your local agents to some of that technology, that that could increase some of the exfiltration as well. So there is that issue.
All right, so local agents definitely a security risk because it has access to everything. Hosted workflows just depends on how you trust that hosted workflow company.
The other thing that I can think of with some of these hosted items is that if you let's say you have like an MCP server that has a potential golden token, right? Something that can do administrative tasks on a hosted system, and you're a regular user that just has read access to that particular service, right? You could potentially, I don't know, give it some type of prompt that bypasses your read capabilities and has the agent perform actions on your behalf with the golden token, basically, right? So.
All right, looking for one more. Oh, looks like Danny, just in time. Danny asks, are you guys tackling application layer identity tooling or staying focused on cloud provider IAM?
I
guess application layer identity tooling would maybe be maybe we think about some standard applications like Oracle databases, maybe, or
yeah,
like that,
sure.
or is it more like Workday?
Yeah, so
Cloud.
yeah, one of the companies that we started Veza with was Snowflake, right? At the data layer and understanding the permission sets at the table and the database layer, right? So we are not just the cloud providers, but also these big databases, data lakes, and Salesforce, of course, is another big one that we work with, so it's not just the cloud provider IAM or the IDP layer, but many identities that are across all of these SaaS platforms and databases too.
So if I was a user, influencer, decision maker, and I currently had an environment and I'm using ServiceNow, how would being able to branch into Veza, into the identity space, into the ISPM space, how would that really, I know there's a lot more to be unfolded as the acquisition closes,
I see.
but like, where are we now with being able to like set some type of a message out to the market of this is what you can be excited about?
Yeah, so interesting enough, and I hope I don't get in trouble, Mike. But
we'll go down together, my friend.
Yeah. So interesting enough, we've been chatting with some of the IAM folks at ServiceNow about some of these integrations that we're working on together. And one of the ideas was that, hey, if ServiceNow has a CMDB, but let's say that an enterprise, a customer doesn't necessarily have all of their NHI or their identities or their services themselves in the CMDB, Veza can actually act as a go-between to collect that information of ownership and shuffle it over to the CMDB, right? Without the user having to go and kind of take that information and manually put it in there or create more and more integrations into the CMDB itself. So that was kind of an interesting idea that instead of having customers hydrate the CMDB directly, it's if you have these integrations in the environment already, just start pushing the information over to the CMDB itself.
So it sounds like an automated way to have like a data enrichment process.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Which sounds kind of similar to why CrowdStrike bought us, because once we feed into the rest of that CrowdStrike platform, the data becomes richer together because of the interoperations. Yeah, I mean, if companies like SailPoint and CrowdStrike and Snowflake and Workday, JP Morgan Chase, I'm not sure if I'm on that, but whatever. But if they're doing something with us, might be a good idea to investigate.
Yeah, for sure. The other idea that I can think of is that you can do potentially permissions, understanding permissions and how to delegate permissions or request permissions to certain platforms, right? And that's where our APIs could help feed that level of information as well. Like, hey, I need admin access into Salesforce, right, through a ServiceNow form, and we could be the kind of go-between of understanding what that permission set looks like, right, and then potentially like a approval workflow and all that kind of stuff too. So.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if you could handle the services in ServiceNow that have basically a broken link to the service owner. Like, oh man, now somebody's got to fix that. That'd be super awesome. Okay, I'm moving away from technology for a second, Pradeep. So it's a question I ask all our presenters. It's a career question. So most of our presenters are pretty seasoned tech professionals, although our June speaker will be someone in their 20s. But most of us are seasoned. But we do have some college kids, some people younger in their career, and we're all looking for advice. But if you could go back in time, talk to your younger self, anything any tips, tricks, advice you've learned along the way that that you think could have power a young person to achieving success on their own?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think about this all the time, especially when I have my 80-hour week. Sometimes, like, is technology the right direction to go in? Yeah, no, never mind that. I would say that try to take a step back sometimes and understand the whole picture, because what ends up happening is when you look at a issue from one angle, you start tending to work very hard to solve that one particular issue, meaning that there could be a whole slew of other things around that you haven't considered. So I think to my younger self, it's always take a step back and analyze what's going on rather than jumping right into the fire, right? It'll save you some hairs on your head if you do that. So
obviously, I didn't learn that
yeah,
lesson.
you didn't learn that, Mike.
But they did migrate to my cheek. So.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thanks, Pradeep.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, maybe last call for questions. I'm not seeing any others in the chat. I think, Mike, you've had your fair share of questions, so putting the X on Mike's questions. But
I think Partha has some great insights here too. I was just kind of reading through those. So yeah.
Yep. From some of the comments from Partha before. Yeah, some good insights there. All right, so I'm going to close out the presentation and Q&A section. Let's do we do a little golf clap, round of applause. Don't want to blow out the microphone. I know that we can't hear everybody clapping on the other end. Thanks everybody for joining. There is a second half, if you haven't heard, where I'll make everybody presenter. We can do a little networking, get to know a little bit about each other. You don't have to stick around if you have to get to hockey or soccer or whatever else you got going on. Glad you could join us. Keep an eye out for future events, and we're glad to have you back. Pradeep, really again appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge with us. It was great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.